Let's meet our players. Would you please welcome from the Republic of Ireland, a finalist on the European Tour and in the World Cup of Darts. It's the Magpie, William O'Connor.
On the 4th of July, 1806, we set sail from the sweet cove of Cork. We were sailing away with a cargo of bricks for the Grand City Hall in New York. 'Twas a wonderful craft, she was rigged fore and aft, and oh how the wild wind drove her. She stood several blasts, she had 27 masts, and they called her the Irish Rover.
We had 1 million bags of the best loyal rights, we had 2 million barrels of snow. We had 3.
And his opponent from Scotland, the number 5 on the PDC Order of Merit, a former Premier League and World Darts Championship finalist, and a former UK Open champion. It's Snakebite Peter Wright!
You're thinking that you can outthink me, but you can't frankly. Don't stop the party. Don't stop the party. I'm gonna give it to you. Now give it to me. I'm gonna give it to you. Now give it to me.
Please welcome on stage our referee for the next 2 matches. The puppy, George Noble.
Well, this is the tournament that just continues to deliver. A brilliant afternoon session could well be eclipsed by this evening's session on the evidence of what we have seen so far. Gerwyn Price coming through an almighty battle against Ryan Harrington by 6 legs to 4. Gerwyn Price having to work very hard for his place in the last 16 tomorrow. And just a few moments ago, the departure of the pre-tournament favourites and the former world champion Rob Cross losing at the hands of the former world championship finalist Kirk Shepherd. Now we have another potential story in the making, because less than a week after their meeting in the World Cup final in Hamburg, Peter Wright and Willie O'Connor do battle on a European stage once again. Last week it was Hamburg, this weekend it's slightly further north in Copenhagen. But once again, the stage is set, Paul Nicholson, for what should be a brilliant encounter, especially when you consider O'Connor's quality yesterday. He flew out of the traps against Luke Woodhouse. 6 180s. No player had more in round 1.
Yeah, fair play to Willie O'Connor, because he's just continuing the form that he's shown in the last couple of months. He was knocking on the door earlier in the season and he couldn't quite get into European Tour darts. But then when he did, all of a sudden, wallop. He's been doing it ever since.
First leg, Peter to throw first. Game on.
I've got to say as well, Rob, how could you not be in a good mood after those 2 walk-ons? I mean, the Irish Rover song and then Snakebite doing a slightly different version of the dancing across stage. It was a bit of a pirouette in the middle. He's jazzing it up a bit.
Keeping the crowd on their toes, keeping himself on his toes. But as well as the 180s yesterday from Willie O'Connor, all well and good, but you know, the first 3-dart average was very healthy, 119. That was the highest of the day. The first 9-dart average was the highest of the day as well. He was basically picking up 355 points after his first 9 darts. He was getting himself into really good positions, and Luke Woodhouse just could not live with that at times. And in the end, well, he was made to work a little bit harder than those stats perhaps suggest. He was 6 from 20 on his doubles, but he had far too much in hand, given the power of his scoring.
And the thing is, if you score like that, you're going to give yourself a lot of chances. You don't have to take every single one of them, but there will come a time where you may only get 1 dart for a leg, and they're the really important ones to nick them away from your opponent. Now, there is a danger in this game for Willie O'Connor that he could want to beat Peter Wright in revenge too much, and he might not play within himself like he did yesterday. So he's got to just try and stay within himself in the first couple of legs and not feel that he wants it too much. Peter Wright is not going to entertain the 51. I'm surprised he didn't, because that first start was a bit wobbly.
85.
We were talking last week during the World Cup about that new little idiosyncrasy of Willie O'Connor with him raising his chin before the first start.
96.
I think that's a conscious thing. I think he's trying to keep his head upright. I think in the past maybe he's just dipped his chin a bit too much at address. But no dipping here for Wright as he gets 76 out in the first leg.
Second leg, William to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, we saw Rob Cross in a bizarre moment in his match, busting his score on 76. The pivotal moments of the match as well. First 180 of this one for Willie O'Connor. That takes his tally for the weekend to 7. But massive feel-good factor surrounding Peter Wright at the moment. World Cup winner last weekend, of course, but on the European Tour, let's not forget, a semi-finalist and a finalist in his last 2 European Tour events. He's had the misfortune, I suppose, of coming up against Ian White in both of those. And, well, it would take a very brave person to back against him, going as deep this weekend once again as Willie O'Connor threatens back-to-back 180s.
Well, the TV titles that Peter Wright has picked up now, the majority of them are non-ranked. Melbourne Darts Masters, non-ranked. German Darts Masters, non-ranked. World Cup of Darts, non-ranked. The UK Open was. I think what he wants now is a really big ranked major. A match play, a Worlds, a Grand Prix. And he was so close last year. He may not have had his best year last year, but boy did he trouble MVG in Dublin.
45.
Absolute chasm between these two in this leg. Well, William O'Connor well and truly in control of this. By the way, Peter Wright and Ian White could meet again in the final here this weekend. They are in opposite halves of the draw. Wright is seeded 6, as you can see, and Ian White is the top dog in Denmark this weekend. Or the top diamond dog, I should say.
Is that a reference to Con Air?
It's a reference to David Bowie.
140. William O'Connor, 40.
Totally over my head, that one. I'll have to bow to your intelligence. And William O'Connor needs to bow to double 10. Bow down to the double 10. And that's a reference to Mervyn King, who has been eliminated from this tournament yesterday by Gabriel Clemens, who we will see this evening. He's playing against Mensah Suljovic.
65. William, you require 20.
And I said earlier, in response to what you said about giving yourself more chances, he's needed them in this leg. He was down to 85 after 9. He's taken it out in 17.
Well, he threatened, didn't he? 6 perfect darts, Willie O'Connor in that leg, but he just about got the job done.
He looks troubled, does Willie O'Connor. I think he's almost reminding me of Daryl Gurney at this point, where Daryl said he actively tries to stay placid up on the hockey. He doesn't want to get too excited. Sometimes it's really hard to read Willie O'Connor. I wouldn't play him at poker, that's for sure. You get him off the hockey and he's a brilliant lad to talk to. Got a great accent. Actively try to stop myself doing Father Ted impressions when he's around, because he'd probably find it disrespectful.
I think he probably would, Paul, yes.
There's a very big difference in the darts that these two are throwing. Snakey's using a very thin dart with an extremely thin point. But Will's dart is quite bulky, tapered at the end, and the point's
60.
pretty standard, but a lot thicker than Peter's. I think Peter's have been filed down a lot. When his dart hits the 60, it looks very thin indeed. And we're going to get a close-up.
125.
It was last year, of course, where Willie O'Connor made the final of a Euro Tour. And where was that? That was in Hamburg. He likes playing in Hamburg, doesn't he?
Willie O'Connor, was that in Hamburg?
End of June, I think it was. That was at the World Match Play Cutoff. It was close to it anyway. but he made the final in Hamburg last week, so might as well call Hamburg Willie O'Connorsville.
Yeah, it was the European darts match play when he lost to Michael van Gerwen 8-2 in the final.
Yeah, no shame in that. I actually shared a cab with Willie after that defeat, and he wasn't too despondent. He was really happy with the way he played. He was more worried about getting to work the next afternoon. He had something like 15 hours to get to work from Hamburg. But right now, I don't think Willie is worrying too much about that. I think he's, from what I've read in the last few days, I think he's thinking about doing this full time now, which would be a big step for him. He wants to emulate the likes of Peter Wright, maybe not in the haircut stakes, but in the trophy stakes.
Yeah, maybe he can just use these opportunities to assess whether that's the prudent thing to do. He's only playing in his second European Tour event of 2019. The first was in Zwolle last time, and he lost to Van Gerwen again in round 2. This will give him further indication, I suppose.
I think it'd be really good for Willie to have a somewhat healthy rivalry with Steve Lennon to vow for the #1 in Ireland spot. I think that's been really good for Max Hopp in Germany, because he was the sole guy over in Deutschland, and Schindler came along and made him better. So I think if Willie O'Connor pushes Steve Lennon and vice versa, I think they're going to do each other's career a lot of good. Steve Lennon was, of course, drilled last night by Dennis Nielsen, who we will see later. You'll actually see him in the next game against James Wade, who, I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but has decided to turn up this week because he's pulled out of the last 2.
Yeah, exercising his right, I suppose, to managing his schedule as he sees best fit. The winner of this match, by the way, to face Joe Cullen, who also enjoyed a big win earlier today against Kevin Burness by 6 legs to 1. So this is in the top quarter of the draw, the quarter that also features Gerwyn Price, or the same segment of the draw that features Gerwyn Price and Stephen Bunting. Double 4 for O'Connor, and we'll level at 2 apiece.
Yeah, he's done well to come back into this as Willie O'Connor. A wink to the VIP area where Steve Lennon's manager Jerry is sitting. I don't know whether Steve's gone home after his early exit, but his manager stuck around to...
I've not seen much of him around.
Well, you can't really hear Steve Lennon because he doesn't say anything. He is probably the quietest man on tour. There's been a lot of red going on today.
100.
Paying homage to the flag of Denmark. You tend to find that with players. They're very respectful for where they're playing. You know, you go to Holland, a lot of people wear orange. Go to Germany, there's a lot of, you know, white and black, and, you know, the colours on the flag. I like that.
By the way, I've just seen Mensah upstairs, and I'm not sure if I've seen the shirt he was wearing. Certainly looks new to me. And I don't think he's worn it before on the European Tour stage, certainly, but it is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's an absolute joy. The aesthetics of it are very pleasing.
You have my attention, Mr. Malarkey.
So when Mensah steps on stage later against Clements, watch out. Little homage to the Austrian flag on one sleeve as well. Nice new logo on the back.
I like it.
Looks as though he's brought someone in, maybe a graphic designer, to do some work.
Take note, Gezi Price. Get a graphic designer. Well, he took note in the first game of tonight, which was absolutely sensational, finishing that up with 144 to beat Ryan Harrington, who came off stage, was talking to the commentating team here and saying, I really enjoyed that, I want more. That's what the attitude should be. And Peter Wright loves a 96. He's one of the best 96 shooters in the world. Loves this shot. And there's more proof of it. Joe approves.
Game on.
Well, it's just ticking over very nicely at this very, very appealing pace so far.
45.
Did you catch much of the World Cup last week?
I did, yeah. Quite a lot of it.
What was your lasting memory of it?
I was really pleased for Japan, actually. Asada is a player who continues. I mean, obviously he made the headlines, didn't he, at the World Championship, and then I'm just really pleased because it's a good reflection on the European Tour. I was expecting a little bit more maybe from the Philippines. Okay, they had a tough draw against England, and also from Singapore, we know, with Paul Lim, for example, and you know, everything he's done in the past. But I think it was a good reflection of the Asian Tour. The standard on the Asian Tour has just been very, very impressive this year. So I was glad that Japan got through, and I was delighted for Asada as well. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, I echo that. Sego is a really respectful human being, as is Haruki.
Yep, great to see a new winner. Great to see, well, first-time finalists, I suppose, as well.
Just another line in the CVs of Peter Wright and Gary Anderson. I mean, if you look at Peter Wright's CV, it's pretty impressive. But when you look at Gary's, it's even better. And Willie O'Connor is not old by any means. Neither is Steve Lennon. That experience is going to do them the world of good to potentially get another shot at that in the coming seasons. Could be a team that we'll see a lot.
Yeah, O'Connor's only 32. He's 33 this summer, in fact.
Good age for a dart player, that. Time to get into his prime.
41.
Mind you, with some dart players, as Peter Wright scratches his head with the end of the dart, I wouldn't advocate that at home. Don't try it. I've lost my train of thought. And maybe Peter Wright has as well. Yeah, his prime is his late 40s.
Well, he's looking at 4-0 here. For a 4-2 lead, this would be a break of throw. This could be potentially damaging. Third dart in hand does that damage. And Peter Wright has daylight in this match once again.
That's proof there that Peter Wright can get those darts alarmingly close together. For most players, that second dart, which has bounced off the first one, has covered the bed. But he's got this innate ability of just getting them so close that it was a guide and not a blocker. And Willie O'Connor, who was looking to get one back on Peter Wright after last week, is going to have to find another level. Peter Wright's timing in this game has been excellent.
That was Peter Wright's second 180 of the match, 2 apiece as far as that particular bracket is concerned. O'Connor with 8 for the weekend now. But, well, the more important statistic he's concerned with is making sure he gets a few more legs on the board. He has 2 to Wright's 4.
I'll tell you what, Rob, as well, there's a few guys who are switching to pear-shaped flights at the minute. One is Kirk Shepherd, and he's in it tomorrow after beating Rob Cross. Willie O'Connor has recently switched to pear-shaped flights. Based on this trend, 60. I think pear-shaped flights are going to be ordered by the plenty on the internet over the course of the next few weeks. People are going to be giving them a try. Yeah. Steve Beaton is probably 93. The talisman of all talismans for the pear-shaped flight. Doesn't work for everybody. Majority of guys use the shaped flight that Peter Wright uses, the standard flight.
130.
Well, that win for Peter Wright in the World Cup over O'Connor last Sunday, was one of 7 wins he's had over the Irishman in 9 previous encounters. O'Connor won the very
59.
First of them at the UK Open in 2010. Won that 9-7. The only other win he had was in the Players' Championship a couple of years ago in Barnsley, winning that one 6-2. Otherwise, Wright has been dominant, and he's dominant in this one as well. 71 checkout on double 16 for a 5-2 lead in this their second meeting on the European Tour. They met in the Austrian Open in 2012, which was the very first Euro Tour event. Peter Wright won that one 6-1 as well.
Seems like a long time ago.
Doesn't it just?
The Euro Tour is here to stay. And when Will beat Peter Wright in 2010, it's fair to say that Peter was a slightly different player back then.
100.
He's turned into a little bit of a different animal. And we were having a chat, weren't we, in the break between sessions about nicknames and how there's too many starting with the. Well, Snakebite hasn't got a the.
99.
And it's one of my favourites. Because it's so synonymous with him now. It couldn't be anybody else, could it?
No.
But if you go to someone in the street and say, who's the Magpie? Only a really seasoned dart player might know. But everybody knows who Snakebite is. Own that nickname. Make it yours.
Make that treble 20 bet yours as well, Willie O'Connor. Room for one more, and he finds a way through.
He keeps hitting 180s like this, Rob. He's going to get himself a reputation.
The downside is he's on a bogey number. But the upside is Wright's on 261, and Wright has not found a treble so far.
He's looking to squeeze it just under that second dart, just like
100.
that.
Peter Wright was the 5-2 on favourite to win this one. Biggest upset of the night so far by a long way. Well, the only real upset today, I suppose. Shepherd's win over Rob Cross. You could look at Dobie against Evans as well, but they were pretty close in the betting.
Yeah, they were very close. I think the shot of the day is definitely Shepherd winning.
I suspect there may be at least one more to come. Wright, though, looking at 161 with O'Connor on 57, but he misses the treble 17. So back upstairs. And he leaves himself 64. O'Connor simply has to go. Tops for a hold of throw. And to keep himself in it.
17.
And that could well be that.
Slightly muted,
64.
ironic look at the board after those two misses for Will. And it may be over. I think Willie O'Connor thinks it's over, because he fully thinks that this is going to go. And it may just do, because Peter Wright's got 2 for it, and he only needs the one. The doubling from Peter Wright has been brilliant. And Willie O'Connor will have to wait for another pop at him.
It has indeed, yep. Very, very good finishing stats for Peter Wright, who averaged just under 100 as well. 6 out of 8 on his doubles. And his form on the European Tour continues. A finalist at the European Grand Prix and a semi-finalist in Zwolle last time. He has beaten Willie O'Connor for an 8th time in his career. O'Connor exits stage left, and as was the case in Hamburg last Sunday, Peter Wright even, comes out on top in what was a rout of Willie O'Connor, and he goes through to meet Joe Cullen in the last 16 here in Denmark tomorrow. On the way next, we've
and
got James
congratulations
Wade
to
and
Snake
Dennis
Bite,
Mills.
Peter Wright. Peter, congratulations. A very good win, average just shy of 100 points.
I think it was a very nervous game. Obviously, William played fantastic in World Cup of darts, and then I played well. And it was like, I think we was both waiting for each other. I know he played brilliant yesterday, but like, obviously playing each other, it's very different. I was really nervous playing against Willie.
I mean, you mentioned the World Cup of Darts. The last year sort of has not been ideal for you. Do you think that this win at the World Cup of Darts, having that weight off your shoulder, finally having won that one, can be something to kickstart you again, to get you back on track?
Maybe I might win the Danish Open. You never know.
We're going to find out in the next round. Congratulations to Snakebite, Peter Wright.